Beloved seekers of truth, I come before you today not as one who stands above you, but as a fellow traveler on this eternal journey toward God realization. The path to spiritual awakening is not a smooth highway paved with rose petals and pleasant experiences. No, dear ones, it is a rugged mountain trail that tests every fiber of your being, every conviction of your heart, and every aspiration of your soul. Many come to the spiritual path seeking peace, seeking happiness, seeking escape from the troubles of this world. But I tell you truthfully, the spiritual path is not an escape. It is a confrontation. It is a confrontation with everything false within you, everything that keeps you bound to delusion, everything that prevents you from knowing your true nature as a child of the infinite. Today, I wish to speak to you about the 9 crucial tests that every sincere devotee must pass on the journey to spiritual awakening. These are not tests given by some external judge or cosmic examiner. No, these tests arise naturally from the very structure of spiritual evolution itself. They are the fires through which the gold of your soul must pass to be purified. They are the storms through which your faith must sail to prove its strength. Listen carefully, for understanding these tests will prepare you for what lies ahead. And make no mistake, these tests will come. They come to everyone who sincerely seeks God. They came to the great saints, they came to the masters, and they will come to you. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, please give me a like and comment below about your thoughts. Let's dive deep together. The first test, the test of desire. The first and perhaps most persistent test you will face is the test of desire. From the moment you take your first step on the spiritual path, your worldly desires will rise up like an army to reclaim their lost territory. You may think, I have renounced the world. I am now a spiritual person. But the world has not renounced you, dear ones. Your old habits, your old cravings, your old attachments, they will return with renewed vigor. This is not a sign of failure. This is the test itself. The spiritual aspirant must learn to distinguish between true needs and false desires. You must learn to see desire for what it truly is. A thief that steals your peace, a jailer that keeps you imprisoned in the cycle of temporary satisfactions and inevitable disappointments. But hear me clearly, I do not ask you to suppress desire through force. Suppression is not victory. It is merely postponement. The desire you suppress today will return tomorrow with double strength. Instead, you must transmute desire. You must redirect the tremendous energy of desire toward God. When you feel the pull of worldly attraction, immediately turn your mind to the divine. Make God the object of all your longing. Let your heart cry out, I want only you, my beloved. All other desires are but shadows of my desire for you. This test continues throughout the spiritual journey, but it becomes most intense in the beginning. Pass this test by persistent practice of meditation, by constant remembrance of God, and by cultivating discrimination between the real and the unreal. The second test, the test of doubt. After you have made some progress in controlling your desires, the second test will arrive. The test of doubt. This is a most dangerous test, for doubt can destroy in moments what took years to build. Doubt whispers in your ear, is this path real? Is God truly listening to your prayers? Are you wasting your time? Look at others who pursue worldly success. Are they not happier than you? Doubt comes in many disguises. Sometimes it appears as intellectual questioning, which seems reasonable and wise. Sometimes it appears as discouragement, when your meditations seem dry and God seems distant. Sometimes it appears as comparison, when you look at other devotees and think, they are progressing, but I am standing still. I tell you, dear ones, doubt is the greatest enemy of faith, and faith is the bridge that carries you across the chasm of ignorance to the shore of wisdom. Without faith, you cannot take a single step forward. But faith does not mean blind belief. True faith is born from experience, from testing the teachings and finding them true, from practicing the techniques and receiving results. How do you pass the test of doubt? Through persistence and through small victories. When doubt comes, do not argue with it mentally. Instead, deepen your practice. Meditate longer, pray more intensely, and watch carefully for the responses from God. They will come, though perhaps not in the form you expect. God answers every sincere call, but He answers in His own way and in His own time. Keep a spiritual diary. Write down your experiences, your insights, your moments of inner peace. When doubt comes, read your own testimony. Let your past experiences strengthen your present faith. The third test, the test of ego. As you progress on the path and begin to experience some spiritual advancement, the third test arrives, the test of ego. This is a most subtle and dangerous test, for spiritual ego is more binding than worldly ego. The worldly person knows he is bound. The spiritually proud person thinks he is free while remaining in chains. You may begin to think, I am more spiritual than others. I meditate longer. I understand the teachings better. I am closer to God. These thoughts are poison, dear ones. They are the ego wearing spiritual robes, pretending to be humility while actually being pride. The test of ego comes in many forms. You may feel superior to those who do not meditate. You may feel critical of other spiritual paths or teachers. You may become attached to your spiritual identity, to being known as a devotee or a yogi. You may seek recognition for your spiritual practices or become offended when others do not acknowledge your advancement. How do you pass this test? Through genuine humility, which is not self-deprecation but truthful self-assessment. Remember always that whatever spiritual progress you have made is not your achievement. It is God's grace working through you. You are merely the instrument, He is the player. The flute does not take credit for the beautiful music. It knows the credit belongs to the musician. Cultivate the attitude of a servant. See yourself as the least among devotees. When pride arises, immediately offer it to God. Say, Lord, even this pride is yours. Take it from me, for I want only you, not the ego's satisfaction. The fourth test, the test of persecution. When you have made genuine progress on the spiritual path, when your light begins to shine, the fourth test will come, the test of persecution. This may surprise you, for you may think, if I am becoming more spiritual, surely everyone will appreciate and support me. But this is not how the world works, dear ones. Your spiritual light will disturb those who live in darkness. Your peace will agitate those who are restless. Your devotion will challenge those who are worldly. Even your own family members may turn against you. They may mock your practices, question your sanity, or try to pull you back into worldly life. This test came to all the great ones. Jesus was crucified. Buddha was opposed by his own relatives. The saints throughout history have faced ridicule, rejection, and persecution. Why should you expect to be exempt? But understand the deeper purpose of this test. Persecution reveals whether your spiritual life is built on a solid foundation or on the shifting sands of others' approval. If you practice spirituality to gain admiration, persecution will destroy your practice. But if you practice because you have tasted the nectar of God's presence and cannot live without it, then persecution will only strengthen your resolve. How do you pass this test? Through forgiveness and compassion. Do not become bitter toward those who oppose you. Understand that they are acting from ignorance, not malice. They cannot see what you see. They cannot feel what you feel. Pray for them. Send them love. And continue steadfastly on your path, unmoved by either praise or blame. The fifth test, the test of temptation. Even after passing through many trials, the fifth test will come, the test of temptation. This test often comes when you least expect it, when you have grown confident in your spiritual strength. Suddenly, an old temptation returns with overwhelming force, or a new temptation appears that seems perfectly justified. The test of temptation is different from the test of desire. In the test of desire, you are learning to control your basic cravings. In the test of temptation, you face a specific situation where you must choose between the spiritual path and a worldly attraction that promises immediate satisfaction. This temptation may come in the form of a relationship that would distract you from your spiritual practices. It may come as an opportunity for wealth or fame that would require you to compromise your principles. It may come as a seemingly harmless indulgence that would gradually pull you back into old patterns. The danger of this test is rationalization. The mind is very clever at justifying what the heart desires. You may think, just this once will not hurt. I have been so disciplined. I deserve this pleasure. God would want me to be happy. I can return to my practices afterward. How do you pass this test? Through discrimination and immediate action. When temptation comes, do not negotiate with it. Do not entertain it in your mind. Immediately turn your thoughts to God. Pray intensely. If necessary, physically remove yourself from the situation. Remember the words of Scripture. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And remember this truth. Every temptation you overcome makes you stronger. Every time you choose God over the world, you forge another link in the chain that will pull you to liberation. The sixth test, the test of dryness. After periods of great spiritual joy and inspiration, the sixth test will come, the test of dryness. This is when your meditations become mechanical, when you feel no devotion, when God seems to have withdrawn his presence completely. The heavens seem closed, your prayers seem to bounce back unheard, and you feel spiritually dead inside. This is one of the most difficult tests, dear ones, because it attacks your motivation at its root. When you felt God's presence, it was easy to meditate, easy to pray, easy to practice. But now, when you feel nothing, why continue? What is the point of sitting in meditation when it feels like sitting in front of a blank wall? But I tell you, this test is actually a blessing in disguise. When God gives you spiritual experiences, you may become attached to the experiences rather than to God himself. You may practice spirituality for the sake of the pleasant feelings rather than for the sake of truth. The test of dryness purifies your motivation. It asks, will you seek me even when I do not reward you with pleasant experiences? Will you love me even when you cannot feel my presence? How do you pass this test? Through loyalty and persistence. Continue your practices even when they seem fruitless. Meditate even when meditation seems dry. Pray even when prayer seems empty. This is the time when you prove your devotion is real, not dependent on emotional rewards. And know this, the dryness is temporary. God has not abandoned you. He is testing your faithfulness. When you prove that you will seek him in darkness as well as in light, he will return with greater glory than before. The seventh test, the test of responsibility. As you advance on the spiritual path, the seventh test will come, the test of responsibility. This is when God begins to use you as an instrument to help others. You may be asked to teach, to counsel, to serve in ways that require time and energy. You may find that others come to you seeking guidance, seeking help, seeking inspiration. This test is subtle because it appears as an opportunity, not as a challenge. But it is a test nonetheless. The question is, can you serve others without losing your own spiritual center? Can you give to others without becoming depleted yourself? Can you help others without developing a savior complex or becoming attached to the results of your service? Many spiritual aspirants fail this test. They become so busy serving others that they neglect their own practices. They become so identified with their role as teacher or helper that they forget they are still students themselves. They become attached to being needed, to being important, to making a difference. How do you pass this test? Through balance and detachment. Never let your service to others replace your personal practice. No matter how busy you become, protect your meditation time as sacred. Serve others. But remember that you are merely God's instrument. He is the true helper, not you. Do your best, but remain detached from the results. Some will benefit from your help, others will not. This is not your concern. Your concern is only to serve with love and to remain anchored in God. The eighth test, the test of isolation. Near the end of the spiritual journey, the eighth test comes, the test of isolation. This is when you must walk alone, when even your spiritual companions cannot accompany you, when you must face God in the solitude of your own soul. This test is necessary because ultimately, the spiritual journey is individual. You cannot reach God realization as part of a group. You cannot merge with the infinite while holding on to human relationships. There comes a point when you must let go of everything, every person, every concept, every identity, and stand naked before the divine. This does not mean you must physically isolate yourself from everyone, though for some, a period of solitude may be necessary. Rather, it means you must be willing to walk the final steps of the journey alone, without depending on others for support, encouragement, or validation. This test reveals whether you have truly found God or whether you have merely found comfort in spiritual community. It asks, can you stand alone with God? Is He enough for you? Or do you still need the approval and companionship of others? How do you pass this test? Through courage and surrender. When the time comes to walk alone, do not resist it. Do not cling to others out of fear. Trust that God is with you, even when no human being is present. Embrace the solitude as an opportunity for deeper communion with the divine. The ninth test, the test of final surrender. The ninth and final test is the test of final surrender. This is the ultimate test, the one that determines whether you will achieve liberation or remain bound. In this test, you must surrender everything, your will, your identity, your very sense of separate existence. Up to this point, there has been you seeking God. There has been a devotee pursuing the divine. But in the final surrender, even this duality must dissolve. You must be willing to die to your separate self completely, to merge so totally with God that nothing of the ego remains. This is the most terrifying and the most glorious moment of the spiritual journey. It is terrifying because the ego fears annihilation. It is glorious because it is the doorway to infinite freedom, infinite joy, infinite being. Keep the company of fellow devotees. And above all, never give up, no matter how difficult the path becomes. I promise you this. If you persevere, if you remain faithful, if you continue to seek God with all your heart, you will pass these tests. You will achieve spiritual awakening. You will know yourself as you truly are, not a limited body, not a temporary personality, but an eternal soul, a child of the infinite, one with God forever. May the blessings of God and the great masters be with you always. May you find the strength to face every test with courage and faith. And may you ultimately achieve the supreme goal of life, union with the divine. In divine friendship, Paramahansa Yogananda.